Today's episode brought to you by the iTerocitor. Download games, use social media apps, and lay 4-lane highways at the rate of a mile a minute. Get yours today. And by Metaluna Travel Services. We can take you anywhere as long as you don't mind sitting next to this thing. Here's your damn rant show, folks. Greetings, I am E. Adam Thomas and welcome to Film Rants, courageously peeling back layers of stuff to find more stuff, or something. Tonight we're looking at the iconic 1955 sci-fi thriller This Island Earth, starring Jeff Morrow, Rex Reason, and Faith Domergue, I think. Maybe. Russell Johnson, the professor from Gilligan's Island, also has a brief appearance in this film as well. Now, before I get into this, I just want to tell you that most of you out there in PewDiePie land are just not going to like this movie. It's older than your parents, and so, by default, that must mean it probably sucks. Stop nodding, Brendan. Nothing I say is going to change that, so get off my lawn! Now that I've got that out of my system, though, This Island Earth depicts the adventures of a nuclear and electronics scientist, Dr. Cal Meacham, who receives an odd piece of equipment in the mail at his high-tech atomic push-button lab. Curious, he tests it, and even though it's barely the size of a grape, it can handle enormous amounts of electrical voltage. He tracks down the company that sent it to him and is sent an instruction manual and catalog for parts to build an interocitor. It's basically an immensely powerful communications and computing device with a built-in atomic heat ray. Because, of course. Also, it can microwave frozen dinners from up to 20 feet away and download comics from the future. They just don't know when to stop. But I digress. He builds the thing, flips it on, and is immediately greeted by the giant smiling face of Exeter, another scientist, with a forehead only a Klingon mother could love. I mean, seriously, they could have called him Dr. Cranius Enlargibus McForehead Pants, and it would not have seemed at all odd. Exeter explains that Dr. Meacham has been selected to join their science-y atomic forehead think tank somewhere in the mountains of Georgia. Sort of like if Deliverance had been a Doctor Who episode. Ding, 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 ding. He's whisked away in a windowless airplane, because again, of course he is, and arrives to find a whole slew of international eggheads being supervised by Exeter and his team of intergalactic ostrich eggheads. They're working to find new sources of atomic energy because 1955, that's why. And apparently, up until now, that's been all the explanation the supposedly brilliant Earth scientists needed to convince them that this wasn't some kind of a weird plot by aliens, Russians, or the French-Canadian Illuminati. He also runs into a sexy female scientist, Dr. Ruth Adams, who claims not to remember him, even though it's pretty well implied that he's definitely seen her boobs a time or two. She and the professor take Meacham into their confidence after a somewhat awkward dinner with Exeter because Exeter has apparently been using a mind control device on some of the other scientists to suppress their free will. The three scientists try to escape, but Exeter starts shooting at them with the atomic comic book microwave death ray thingies. Cal and Ruth manage to escape, but the professor is sadly killed. Apparently constructing a multi-phasic deflector shield out of coconut shells and a palm tree frond was not a viable option in this particular situation. The terrified lovebird scientists make their way to a small plane that just happens to be out conveniently in the field to make their escape and are OMG tractor beamed into a flying saucer. Exeter is, of course, waiting for them on board, assuring them that he is benevolent, and displays his kindness and benevolence by blowing up the freaking mansion and all the remaining scientists in there with it. What a sweet guy, right? Exeter explains that he is from the planet Forhedia. Metaluna. and that his people are losing a war with another race of aliens who presumably have no foreheads or black hair, or we never actually see them, just the sloppy optical effects that represent their weapons. Once on Metaluna, they meet the high trump of the planet Metaluna, who decides that humans thinking for themselves is a bad idea. Sound familiar? He condemns Cal and Ruth, to having their minds baked, and as they're being escorted to the cerebral easy bake oven, they meet a mutant. He growls, they scream, and then the other aliens fire on their position and making the infrastructural fakery collapse all over the place. After some more mutant screaming at and dashing about, Exeter flies them back to Earth and crashes his spaceship in the ocean because, well, he's kind of a dork. The end. No postscript, no science-y lovers holding hands on the beach watching the sunset as the glorious explosion caused by the tiny plastic flying saucers is eclipsed by a baby dolphin. Baby dolphins are so cute, aren't they? I love baby dolphins. Anyway, this island Earth, in and of itself, is not a completely horrible film. It's beautifully photographed. The special effects are slightly above average for its time, and the acting is not bad either, if you can get past Rex Reason's over-the-top movie phone on steroids baritone voice. Feminists will flat out hate Faith Domerguez's performance. I hope that's not the incorrect pronunciation, because that sounds so cool. For someone who is supposed to be one of the world's most renowned scientists, she is awfully screamy and damsellian. Then again, in a way, she kind of reminds me of Sheldon Cooper in that regard. So, there's that. The writing and the dialogue are absolutely the very template upon which every cheesy 50s sci-fi horror movie stereotype was based. From the obligatory pet cat in the lab named Neutron to the clumsy little era-specific jargon like push-button age and using the word atomic for everything from bombs to electronics to Dr. Ruth's hairstyle. And more made-up technobabble than a Borg episode of Star Trek Voyager. This film is crawling with more dated 50s nuance than a human being should be capable of enduring or even understanding. All of this doesn't necessarily make the film less enjoyable overall, but it doesn't allow the film to age very well either. It's kind of like opening a bottle of 50-year-old scotch only to find out that it tastes like a 3-year-old bedwetter's underpants. Yeah. On to the rantometer. Artistic gets a 3. For rather good set and prop design so far as it goes. Coolness gets a 2. As it's not completely devoid of any awesomeness with the visual and makeup effects. Rewatchability only gets a 1. Because it really is one of a couple of 150s era alien invader movies, and it doesn't even try to give us any real twists. So not a whole lot of incentive to pop it in again anytime soon. Sunkitude gets a 2 as well. Because for every lump of coolness it succeeds in, it follows up with a pile of steaming WTF moments. That brings the total score to a 4 for this island Earth. Now, for a new segment on the show, viewer comments. This first one comes to us from Sam McDougall, who is commenting on episode number 59 for the movie Martyrs. Insanely cringy swearing from an old cunt trying way too hard to... whatever. Grow up, fuck. Okay, seriously, twat bait? Do you really realize how idiotic and stupid you sound complaining about my swearing by spewing out both cunt and fuck in a 14-word comment? I'm guessing you're the kind of jerk who teaches his son not to smoke by cramming an entire pack of your own cigarettes into his mouth, lighting him up, and laughing when he throws up. Throwing an adolescent tantrum and then telling me to grow up completely defeats any shred of credibility you might have had. Another comment on the same topic by Dale Stafford on the Star Trek fan film episode is a lot easier to take seriously. He says, actually helpful actual helpful info if you can find it buried underneath all the immature Tourette's level of compulsive, repetitive profanity. I'm no prude, but seriously, it is breathlessly histrionic to the point of concern for his emotional stability. Too bad, because I think there could be some real, actual helpful info here if the viewer wasn't constantly being accosted with wince-inducing, old man cussing awkwardness. Put it that way, and I'm a lot more likely to take you seriously as an actual critique and not just dismiss it so readily. As for my delivery style, I make no excuses or apologies. My inspirations include George Carlin, Robin Williams, and Bill Hicks, none of which shied away from an exaggerated volley of exuberant, expletive-laden faux rage. Frankly, I keep hearing how gradually more saccharine and genteel most of our comedic TV personalities are becoming lately, and how the content of their shows has been declining in quality and watchability over the last few years. Not to mention how society has degraded to a bunch of thin-skinned little social justice warriors who look for even the smallest possible reason to tear others down and make everything but breathing and wearing socks either illegal or at the very least socially unacceptable. And what is happening in all of that self-same, socially conscientious atmosphere? White supremacists running people down in the streets. In the 1960s, you couldn't say any foul words on television. We had race riots, Vietnam, assassinations, and all sorts of other vile crap going on. As we started loosening up in our entertainment media, we also loosened up sociologically. Things weren't perfect, but we were on our way. Then 9/11 hit. And we have been backsliding like crazy in every conceivable way ever since. I can't say myself whether there really is a direct correlation, but it does seem to historically display a similar curve between social unrest and puritanical civility. Anyway, if you noticed, I got through the whole main review today without one single expletive. That was for you, Dale. I hope you enjoyed it, and I may very well take your concerns to heart. I mean, I have been doing this for this show for 3 years, and I haven't really heard any other real complaints about the language until the last couple of months. But you made a valid point, and you expressed it intelligently. As for Sam McDougal, fuck you, douche nozzle. Oh, and as to the question of my emotional stability, yeah, sorry, that ship has sailed. Your best bet is just to keep your fingers away from my mouth from now on. As always, don't forget to comment, share this episode, and stay tuned in the coming weeks as I will be reviewing Logan, Wonder Woman, the premiere of Star Trek Discovery, and in October, some of my favorite classic horror films. From Angry Men Reviews, this is E. Adam Thomas saying, Klaatu Varada Nickelback. Angry Men Reviews. Many fucks said, no fucks given.
You know, I'm going. I really am going because all you have done is negative.
More cool stuff over here to click on. A couple of different rants here. And you can also click on my elbow here and subscribe to Angry Men Reviews. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Take care. Have some sausage. Lick of pinto. I don't know. Bye.